morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host. And the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us connected. Our topic today is health and well-being and ways to think about how the restaurant industry could benefit from health coaching. This is an industry which I absolutely love and adore, but it also is an industry that has the highest rate of substance abuse of any profession. It has a high rate of suicide and almost 75% turnover. And what we're going to be talking today about is how wellness programs can improve the morale, help retain employees. It can benefit the bottom line, as well as mitigate some mental and physical toll that folks endure in the restaurant industry. We want to bring back restaurants. We miss going to restaurants on a regular basis, and COVID has kept us isolated and not in community. And I believe restaurants are a place where we build community, where we break bread together. And it's so not only for the folks that are going to the restaurant to celebrate for whatever special reason, but it's also special for the folks that work there. But we can make it even more special. And to help navigate this idea, we have Nancy Olson, who is a server and trainer in the restaurant industry. And right now she's also a graduate student in integrative health and well-being coaching. She has a passion for bringing more health and well-being to support the restaurant industry. And I'd love to have her tell us more about what a health coach is and why you were drawn to going back to school for this.
Thank you, Laurie. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on. So a few years back, I was feeling the need to expand my capacity, I guess, in what I wanted to do in life, and in a way that kind of developed my passions for health and well-being and how to be able to help others and move forward in the second half of my life. So that's what inspired me to look into this health and well-being coaching program. When I found it seemed like a perfect fit for the direction I wanted to take for the next half of my life.
Well, I've always been interested in how hospitality also has the word hospital in there. So
Right.
there is,
Sure.
that there is some crossover, in the sense of hospitality is a place of healing. Hospitality is a place of coming together. There's something special. They say sometimes that folks that are in the hospitality industry have a special DNA that we do want to serve. And it's much like the service of good health and well-being.
Exactly. We're caretakers in a sense. We're caring for people's needs, for their desires for food and entertainment and community and getting together. And we provide that service to people in the restaurant industry.
But sometimes the folks that work in the industry aren't taking care of themselves the way they should.
Pardon me?
But sometimes the folks that are working within the industry aren't taking enough time to take care of themselves.
Oh, sure.
And the health coaching, tell us what your definition of health coaching is.
Yeah. Health coaching is, in its basic sense, a partnership that really helps facilitate personal growth and development, and it helps people achieve their goals for better health and well-being. So we work with people in one-on-one or in groups on really, there's three basic concepts of health coaching. It's holism, the combining body, mind, and spirit aspects of ourselves, and it's client-centered, believing that people that come to health coaching, they have their own wisdom inside of them already to know what path they want to take and how they might be able to get there, but just need some extra help in laying out those steps to take and needing that support. And it's really forward thinking as well. Like, what's the detailed vision of what you want your life to look like in the future? And how do you get there? How do you create those goals and what are they? So that's the basic of health coaching. I'm taking it through the school, the Center for Spirituality and Healing at the University of Minnesota. And in that of itself, they have a wonderful website called Taking Charge of Your Health and Well-Being, where anyone in the community can go on and do like a health inventory and see where, exploring what their values are and exploring the different aspects of health, the social or environmental or relational aspect of your health. It goes beyond mental, physical, emotional, spiritual
Hmm.
aspects as well. It's all pieces of that puzzle.
And as you're thinking about it for the restaurant industry, you've loved being part of the restaurant industry, and tell
Yes, I've
where did you see the disconnect that you loved being in the restaurant industry, but you saw that there needed to be something more.
For me personally, it was just expanding what I was doing in the restaurant
Okay.
industry, and how could I take that and broaden that picture, and utilize my interest in health and well-being in that way. Um, in the restaurant industry, it can be tough. It's odd hours. It's working holidays, nights, weekends. You know, there's just, I don't know, just the nature of the job. There can be disconnect. The way restaurant employees are looked upon by the public.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many times in my career, I've been in this career for over 35 plus years now, how many people have asked me over the years, what's your real job? Or, what else do you do besides this? So there's kind of that stigma about being a restaurant worker as well that is deflating to the restaurant worker.
And
So,
it's almost like there's a duality. People who have worked in a restaurant 9 times out of 10 will tell you about all the wonderful experiences they had with the people that they worked with and that
hmm
they cared about, and
hmm
there was a trust level and
hmm
going creating that sense of family almost where you
yeah,
work. And at the same point in time, as you just said, not necessarily getting the respect of the career aspect, that
hmm
this was supposed to be just a transition. Um,
hmm
so to me, there seems to be a bridge that if people are viewing this as not a career, that's going to impact their sense of retention, right? If everyone's telling you
sure, yeah,
what's your next job or what's your real job,
yeah, yeah,
instead of respecting the job you're at, it sort of sets you up for like, well, I guess I'm not in a real job.
right,
I guess I'm
right,
not in something that gives me a sense of trajectory of my career and where I could be.
yeah,
So there needs to me, the disconnect, part of the disconnect is creating an environment that says, no, we do care and we do want you to stay. And there is a
hmm
career, and there is a
hmm
path that you can, whether it's within our restaurant or in the restaurant industry, that you can learn about and not feel like this is just something that you do when you're in school or something that you do when you're in between jobs or something that you do when you're pursuing your artistic lifestyle that gives you some flexibility. That all those things are great. And if that's what you
hmm
choose, but you can also choose to create it as a career. So, what kind of support I
absolutely,
think do people need to
yeah, yeah,
feel that it's a career? And part of it are,
right,
the benefits that you get through health and well being.
yeah. Yeah, I just want to mention on the flip side of that, what that view of the public.
Hmm.
So I've been at Manny's Steakhouse for the last 18 years, and that sense of family and community is one of the most important, most satisfying things I get out of that, of being an employee there for so long. And it shows through the customers as well, where I get asked on a weekly basis how many years I've been there. And that customer will turn around and boast to their guests, see, that's what I love about coming here. People that are here have been here forever, and people, and you get that sense of family and community. And that comes across to the guests. So I think when you provide that for your employers or employees for their health and well-being, that's going to inevitably spill over into your client base and guest satisfaction and their loyalty for you as a business.
It's
So I think all of those go hand in hand.
it's a great business case.
Hmm
It's not just being nice. There's a
Right.
business case where when
Yeah.
employees start to take their health more seriously,
hmm
then they are going to stay more healthy traditionally.
Right.
Or
If you're caring for your employees' health and well-being, they're going to stay. It's going to be and more admirable position to be in and desirable position to be in. And it all comes full circle, right?
And when it comes to chronic illness, early
Mm-hmm.
detection is key.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a more of awareness of early detection opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
75% of cancers are lifestyle related. And
Right.
so how do we start looking at our lifestyle and have a supportive environment that goes, we care about you. We care
Yeah.
about ways to keep you healthy because we want you here. And we
Right.
want you to be part of a long-term relationship with us. And what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like? And I think people start when you are in an environment where people care about how your health is, who you are, what's important to you. That's the basis of belonging. And we talk a lot about, how retention is
Right.
all about feeling like belonging. Well, my goodness,
Yeah.
restaurants can create that sense of belonging and they can take it, and it doesn't take a whole lot. You can start with baby steps. And this is
Yeah.
true for, I believe, every business, but we're using the restaurant industry as an
Sure.
important one to look at because right
Well,
now
yeah.
they need our support as well. We want
Oh,
restaurants. They are part of our community. That is the place where we go to break bread. So,
yeah.
how can we all be a part of supporting perhaps a shift in recognizing the hard work and career opportunities that could be available that we support? We don't ask our server, how long have you been here in terms of, what's your other job?
Right.
We,
Right.
we
Yeah.
ask them how long you've been here because we love coming back and it's a
Yeah.
tradition and we love seeing you.
Yeah.
And,
It's
and
real people and real work.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, in our
Yeah.
next segment, I'd like for us to talk about chronic illnesses. I know that you have a particular passion in looking at, especially diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
and what impact we can maybe support through good health coaching. And for folks who want to perhaps connect up with Nancy, if you've got other questions, her email address is njolson, Olson, at umn.edu. She's right now doing some apprentice work, but she is going to be launching a health coaching career in the near future. And with that, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk
Thank
more about what are some chronic illnesses and health coaching can be supporting, and early detection and ways to support folks in the restaurant industry. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host, and our topic today is looking at health and well-being and ways to think about how the restaurant industry could benefit from health coaching. I think we all can benefit from health coaching, but I like being able to talk about it in terms of the restaurant industry because we've got a real challenge going on. A lot of restaurant workers aren't going back. We have restaurants that are closing. We have restaurants that have different hours because of that. And the pandemic, the COVID-19, really brought to light some of the harsh issues of health and well-being and ways that perhaps we can think about supporting good health and our relationship with our restaurants and with the folks that work there. So today we have Nancy Olson, who is a surfer and trainer. She's been in the restaurant industry for over 30 years, 18 years, I believe, with Manny's, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And Nancy is a graduate student right now for Integrative Health and Wellbeing Coaching, and she has a passion for bringing health and well-being support to the restaurant industry. So welcome, Nancy. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we were talking in the last segment about impact of, chronic health, chronic illness, and ways that perhaps health coaching could help put that into focus. And we know that early detection is key in a lot of chronic illness, and lifestyle can play a role in that. And health coaching can help look at our lives and start charting our own direction, as you started to share with us about what the role of health coaching can be. So tell us more about what you think about. I know diabetes is one particular passion, but you've got some others as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, in the case of diabetes, it's they estimated $327 billion are spent on in diabetes in 2017, and that was according to the American Diabetic Association, an increase in 26% in just 5 years.
Wow.
So it is really something that is, taken over and will eventually bankrupt our healthcare system. Um, there is, in type 2 diabetes is a majority of it is lifestyle based. It's
Hmm.
on what you eat and how you're living, so
And
that's why it
moving
becomes
and exercising too.
right. Yeah. Sedentary and movement.
Hmm.
So that's why it becomes so important to, get support from someone, or group support or individual support on how to start making those changes. And they don't have to be large changes. It's better to break them down and take them just baby steps, little, changes in your diet, changes in your routine and your exercise habits or movement habits. Can make a huge difference and impact in preventing or reducing, the effect that diabetes is having on your life. So that's just one instance. I mean,
Hmm.
there's other chronic illnesses. Inflammation is huge in our country, causing a plethora of disease in our country, arthritis, those types of things, autoimmune diseases, same types of things. Stress management is so important with that because stress has that impact on your body where it produces these pro-inflammatory chemicals that end up start kind of attacking your joints and kind of wreaking havoc on you. So learning how to reduce that stress in your life is going to reduce the physical conditions that you're experiencing.
And when you think of stress, you
Yeah,
know,
and
the
restaurant
in
work.
restaurant workers, hard
Right.
work, and this last
Yeah,
couple years in terms of,
yeah,
looking at sometimes needing to be the mask police, or
right.
no matter where you are on the political continuum,
Hmm.
having challenges with folks that are perhaps having things escalate out of hand,
Yeah.
and you need to be the person that helps de-escalate that. eh,
Hmm. Hmm.
those are tough
Hmm.
things that we've put on our frontline workers are
Right.
and
Yes.
and that has to take a toll in terms
And
of.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. Just the stress of the restaurant work too has a lot to do with everything is right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're people want their food right now, and you're doing a lot of service in a small amount of time, which so your kitchen staff is preparing things in a small amount of time, and then you're working with the demands of your guests. And so I think that's a big part of that stress factor. And then you also, during the pandemic, of course, it's the stress of not working because they had to shut down, and you know
And what does
all
your
those
future
extra
look like?
tolls that,
Yeah.
yeah. And what's your future look like? Restaurants, so many restaurants have closed. It's just, yeah.
But some of the things that I think can work well for health
Hmm.
coaching is
Hmm.
that when you are in that environment with your coworkers, it can be a place where it, as you said, it feels like family. There's
Hmm.
trust
Hmm.
amongst the team that's there, the deep
Hmm.
care and the friendships. Um,
Hmm.
Being able to take it one step further and go, I care about your health.
Right.
I care about how
Hmm.
you're doing.
Yeah.
We've talked about how, if someone's sick and there's a challenge, people rally together, right? Well,
Yeah.
what if we started to rally before someone got sick?
Right.
What if
Yeah.
we could know in their family that a breast cancer might run in their family? So you start putting out, as you've recommended, an idea about putting pamphlets out for awareness. It can be as
Yeah.
simple as that, of knowing what the health needs are of the folks that work there and really getting to know them,
Yeah.
and being able to talk about health. And
Yeah. There's a lot of simple things that a restaurant can do that are very inexpensive to support the health and well-being of their employees. In health coaching, some of the main tenets of health coaching is really focusing on values, strengths, positivity, motivation, loyalty, support, and care, building that community. These are all aspects that, as a restaurant business, can infiltrate into their system of support. You know, doing a brief questionnaire about, like we were saying, what's important to their employees for their health and well-being, having pamphlets of information, kind of like you do at the doctor's office. You've
right.
got one on mental health, one on addiction. Addiction is so high in the restaurant industry. One on diabetes. How do you manage that? Maybe mindfulness skills and techniques and stress management. Just having that information on hand is going to help people know where to go, maybe offering resources of where they need to go if they're confronting any of these things.
And with that, I'm going to have us go to a break. But before I do, I want
Okay.
to encourage folks that if you'd like to follow up with Nancy on some of these ideas, her email address is NJOLSON. That's NJ Olson with an ON at umn.edu. Nancy is pursuing her degree with the Integrative Health and Wellbeing and is doing an apprenticeship right now, right? Or
Yes, I'm doing an internship.
an internship. So
Mhm.
soon to be launching her additional support career, but still staying in the restaurant industry because it's a good industry to be in. So we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
We'll be right
Thank
back
you.
after a few short announcements. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host. And our topic today is we're looking at health and well-being and ways to think about how the restaurant industry could benefit from health coaching. There are so many of us that have done some work in the restaurant industry at some time in our life. 1 out of 3 folks have had some relationship. And if you haven't worked in the industry, you probably have a friend that does or did, or a child or a family member. And it's an important industry. It's part of our community. Every community has a restaurant that we care about. And they're having a rough time right now. And we are in the midst of reimagining what restaurants could be in the future. And part of that is perhaps bringing more respect to those who are in the industry and respect the career path and the career opportunities and support the shaping of the restaurant industry as a healthy and important place to work and be. And as we're exploring that, we have Nancy Olson, who is a server and trainer in the restaurant industry. She's right now a graduate student in integrative health and well-being and has a passion for bringing health and well-being to the restaurant industry. Welcome, Nancy. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Laurie. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Nancy, over the years, I'm sure you've had some experiences that meant a lot to you about why you love working in the restaurant industry. And what makes it special. And if you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes to share just your own reason of why you feel the restaurant industry is so important and why you're wanting to bring health and wellness as a health coach to the industry.
Sure. Easy. The community of people that I work with, number one, is just that support. Where I am at Manny's, we are such a strong, tight-knit family. We take care of each other. If something goes wrong with someone in their family, we bind together, we help each other out. And the camaraderie between everybody is just next and just bar none, just the best thing ever. So and then working with the public, we're all people person that are in the restaurant business, you know. And I enjoy the different eccentricities of different personalities, and people are funny and they're sometimes difficult, but for the most part very kind and fun to be with, and you're providing them with an entertaining experience, a special moment perhaps that they're celebrating, a group of business people, having fun and getting together and being outside of work. So it's just, there's so many different aspects like that are just really great that, the restaurant business is always, you've got flexible hours, allows you more time maybe with your family than maybe a traditional 9-to-5 job. So there's other benefits that way as well. So,
Did
you
started pursuing this before COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
I bet it's been kind of interesting as you're going through this, educational experience to also be in the midst of a health crisis.
Right.
How have you seen that hit where you work, and what are some of the takeaway lessons you've learned, during this recognition that we're in a health crisis.
Yeah. I think it's just a much deeper and greater appreciation for each other and for the people that support us, for our guests that have continued to support us throughout the crisis of the pandemic and how important they are and the role that they play. I find that guests that are coming in have a greater appreciation just for life itself, for being able to go out and dine. There's um, just watching the effect on our staff. Some people needed to wait to come back because they have people at home that they're concerned about that would be more impacted by COVID, or, really pulling together to make things happen throughout the crisis so we can get our business and our company through that and move forward from that and build back. Those are some of the things that I've experienced.
And when people are coming back to the restaurant
Mhm.
and they have that joy of like, I can finally come back.
Right.
Um, have you sensed that there is a different kind of relationship that you're having with them? Or is it just wanting to get through this nasty COVID-19 and get back to where it
A little bit of
was?
both, right? Yeah.
You mentioned that there's a deeper appreciation. How does
Mhm.
that get translated? What do you see? And I'm asking this because I also think that there's a role that restaurateurs, the customers that are coming, can be more cognizant of. What are all the things that you're appreciating in your restaurant when customers are coming back? What are the things that we can keep in mind?
Having the support of our employer, um, having a good health insurance plan,
Mm-hmm.
especially during a health crisis, um, is one of the biggest things a restaurant can offer for their employees, to have that support, that type of support in their work. Um, really supporting each other's strengths and holding each other up. Um, those types of things. Yeah.
I know you have some stories in terms of folks that kind of impacted you in thinking about health and well-being and stress.
Hmm.
Stress is so, as we've talked about in the other segments, there's a lot of stress. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, it's an
Hmm.
industry that suffers from some of the highest rates of mental illness in any field, and the
Hmm.
pandemic has made this even worse. So,
Hmm.
um, if you can't afford to go talk to a therapist, you know that may create some challenges. But there are some things you can start to do in terms of just recognizing what stress is doing and how to look at stress differently.
Hmm.
Share some of the things that I know that you have experienced in terms of dealing with stress as you've got
Hmm.
everything having
Right.
to happen all at once and
Like,
food needing to
yeah,
be out and
yeah,
people wanting this or that. I mean, that it's got to be an environment where you're very much rushed and need to get things
right.
done moments ago instead of in a few moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I had shared the story with you before. I had a server I used to work with who, when I was under a lot of stress and I'd be at the computer ringing things in, and he'd come up and said, "Don't worry, it's just relax. It's not brain surgery."
Yeah.
And just keeping that in mind, it just to calm me down, like, oh, okay, yeah, it's they're going to be there when I get there and bring things out. And so just keeping a good mental attitude, and employees can be supported by that, just to have little reminders of, take a moment, take a breath, and just, little things like that to kind of help calm your nervous system down, really, in those moments of stress. So stress management skills, having information about, how to do that, supporting positivity, having a positive attitude, and promoting that within your restaurant is, I think, really important.
And, even having your employees back if things, have escalated, if people are, I mean, people who are coming to restaurants also, have their stress. They've been suffering through COVID-19 and
Hmm.
maybe they're not being as respectful to
Hmm.
the server. Um,
Hmm.
I think it is important to do all the different skills that you can learn in being able to have good interactions, but it's also really nice to have the manager say, "Hey, now this is not appropriate. We're behind our employees," and
Good
we,
communication with your guests, I think, is
yeah,
key.
yeah,
Yeah, just and just being realistic about that, and having some boundaries with guest behavior if
right.
things are getting out of control, I think is very important. Um,
Well, if you were going
and
to go ahead.
go ahead. No, just creating that environment of that there are boundaries, and there's that element of you need to respect, employees need to respect the guest needs to respect the employee.
Right.
Hmm.
If you were going to be able to look in your crystal ball and
Hmm.
you've got your health coaching program up and running,
Hmm. Hmm.
what would it look like? What would be some
Hmm.
of the dream coaching opportunities that you could see, and what kind of impact are you hoping to make?
Well, I'm hoping to work with people individually on as a health coach. I think pertaining to the restaurant industry, I think it would be wonderful to help restaurants establish certain practices that really help support and uplift um, employee, the environment and the culture of that place, and increase employee retention and increase that loyalty and build that community. Oh, and simple ways that they can do that, taking small steps to offer healthier employee meals, maybe um, creating some group activities of maybe some type of in the community service projects, going to a food shelf, like the food group is a great nonprofit. You can go and fill up food boxes for an hour. um, Offering set schedules that will help provide stability for workers and their families, so they can have a routine and incorporate. It's easier to incorporate some other healthier habits if you have a stable schedule, and um, you have that, um, where what you're doing, what your
Mm-hmm.
schedule is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and looking into maybe some of the ideas of if you're a smaller restaurant, grouping with other restaurants in the area to be able to provide a comprehensive health plan. Those healthcare costs these days are what really bankrupts people. And if you don't have any insurance to cover that, even just a basic comprehensive plan can provide that financial support and stability for that worker, that employee, and their families. So, those are some small ways and big ways that um, you can help promote that health and well-being environment within the restaurant industry. So
And
it
when
would be great to see myself being able to help facilitate that.
and when you're looking, at caring for your health, you feel more
Hmm.
secure, right?
Hmm.
and
Right.
and in that security you feel the career potential. And I the biggest thing I'd like to see
Mm-hmm.
for the restaurant industry is what you had
Hmm.
mentioned earlier in terms of people asking you, yeah, but what's your real job? um,
Right. Yeah.
this is a real job,
Yes.
and we
Yeah.
have a responsibility in going to restaurants to respect the those who serve us as a real
Hmm.
career. And
Right.
being able to know that this pandemic, although it's been overwhelming in so many ways and has led to isolation, has increased mental health issues, and our habits are all off, and getting
Right.
back to healthy habits is a good thing
We
for.
all have the COVID-10 on our
Yes,
bellies.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and we all could benefit from good health
Hmm.
coaching and setting our goals and priorities. Um,
Yeah.
but I have a real heart for seeing the restaurant industry as a place for a career, and that people should get that
Right.
kind of respect. And that comes with stability. And I think as we're looking at stable environments and a restaurant being able to offer, living wages and health care and support, the more it'll be recognized as a career opportunity, and maybe not have that 75% turnover. Uh, it,
Right. it all comes full circle,
Hmm.
like applying the concepts of health coaching to the restaurant business, thinking about it in a holistic fashion, having it be employee centered, where you're focusing on really supporting the health and well-being of your employees, and having a vision and making goals towards taking those steps towards that vision. Aligning your company with good positive values is only going to strengthen that idea of being a restaurant worker as a career. No matter if you're at the local mom and pop shop or at a restaurant group, bigger company, or whatever spectrum of the scale that you're on in the restaurant business, you support that. You're going to support retention and create that loyalty, and you're going to build that community within your restaurant business. That's going to spill out and only help increase your success and respect by the community, which will, if you times of trouble, they come together, as I've seen in this pandemic, the support of our guests, our loyal guests that come back. So it all comes full circle, right? And it creates that job as being more of a career. People will stay with you for a lifetime if they are felt like they are cared for and supported by their employer,
And they feel like they belong.
and they feel like they belong. Correct.
And
Yeah.
with that, we'll take a quick break. If you want to learn more about what Nancy's doing and want to send her an email, um, I encourage you to do so. She's working on finishing up her degree at the University of Minnesota in integrative health and well-being, but looking to encourage more health and well-being in the restaurant industry as part of her second part of her career building in the restaurant industry. And her email address is njolson, Olson, at umn.edu. And we'll be right back just after a few commercials and finish up talking about ways to think about health in the restaurant industry. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. And in this show, we've been talking about health and well-being in the restaurant industry. We're also excited to have the restaurant industry coming back and we can go to restaurants again. But there's some real challenges. There are individuals that are not going back to the restaurant industry. They're not, some of our restaurants, our favorite restaurants, have been closing. It's a tough time, but it's also a time for us to, as a community, come together and look at what are the restaurants of the future to look like, and how can health and well-being be part of that? It's not only going to help the restaurant, it's going to help the individuals in the restaurant. It's going to help folks go into the restaurant, because these restaurant programs are important. When you are expecting employees to take care of the business, whether it's a restaurant or somewhere else, you need to take care of them first. And this is something to be thinking about. How do you build health into our ethos? How do you build health into the vernacular? And Nancy Olson, who is both a server and a trainer in the restaurant industry and who is a graduate student right now in integrative health and well-being coaching, has been giving us some insights about ways to think about that. And thank you, Nancy, for being with us today.
Thank you, Laurie.
So as we're giving some tips for folks to think about, for restaurateurs to be thinking about how to support their employees, for restaurant goers to think about when they go to the restaurant, do you have some ideas that you'd like to give the audience to be thinking about to have them understand how important health is, especially for the restaurant industry, and ways that they can maybe reduce some of the stress for those restaurant workers, and ways to really support them in the work that they're doing? Some do's and don'ts. And one of the first do's and don'ts that I hear you loud and clear is don't ask them what's their real job, right?
Yeah, that's right. Right. If you're dining somewhere, don't ask them what's their real job or what do they do besides this. Appreciate that.
And
Have that
respect that it is a
Yeah.
career.
Yes, real people, real work. Yeah. And I think having patience and empathy, if something doesn't turn out the way you'd like it when you're dining out somewhere, you know, they want that employee and that restaurant wants to make it right for you. So allow them the opportunity to do that And and it's not like they cut off the wrong leg.
Right.
That it's just food, just a drink, and they want to fix that for you. So keep that in mind, having patience and empathy and respect for your restaurant worker, for sure.
And what are some of
Those are.
the special things that some of your customers have shared with you that made a difference? It could be something as, thank you so much for the wonderful
Just
evening.
Yeah, that positive support, like, the comments, boy, you're really good at what you do, or that those personal questions, do you have family? How long have you been here? Just the thank yous and oh, thanks, I appreciate that. Just like you would want in a relationship with another person,
Hmm.
that kind of positive support just is so meaningful. It really, really goes a long way.
And we can play a role in helping employees at a restaurant want to stay.
Hmm.
We're a
Right.
factor in
So
going to that
important.
restaurant.
Hmm.
And encouraging restaurant goers. Yes, we have high expectations because we want this to be a special. There might be a reason that we're going out. It might be a celebration of our birthday or an anniversary or
Hmm.
whatnot. And that always brings a little heightened tension. But eh, as your friend had said to you, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be brain surgery to do all of
Hmm.
this.
Just
It,
have fun and enjoy each other as a guest and as a server, or as a cook and a server. Really be mindful of those relationships and just really have joy and pleasure in that. And because it's our choice to do that. Both as a guest, or as an employee, or as an employer.
And
We
as you mentioned earlier, I think during this time of isolation and COVID and the uncertainty and our own health concerns, as we come back out of this, how can we be more deeply appreciative of each other? And that deep appreciation of each other, whether that extends into health coaching or extends into just being in the moment and appreciating, will make our
Mhm.
lives better. And
Absolutely.
eh, it is all part of perhaps our destiny of looking at what do we want for ourselves, which is the big question that is asked in the health coaching. What is our intuitive knowing that we want in our
Mhm.
life, and how can we
Right.
bring that forward not only for ourselves but for everyone that we interact with? Perhaps
Mhm.
we all got this pause button so that we could look at our relationships and our connections differently.
Absolutely. Right.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for being a part today. And I hope that we'll have future conversations and updates on good things that are happening in the restaurant industry with health and
Thank you.
wellness.
It was an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. And I look forward to having our audience come back next week. We're going to continue our journey in looking at the restaurant industry and important things that are happening. And I encourage you to stay with us. And I also encourage you to go out and have a great time at a restaurant and thank your server for the work that they do, as well as the cook and everyone else. Have a great week and talk to you next week.